Now in English, so we can know who you are chewing out, LOL. So he's basically referring of the previous video of this comment. Well, obviously I was speaking in Tagalog and I was talking about a Filipino man. He was basically mad at me for speaking about why there are so many single moms in the Philippines. There are many single moms in the Philippines because there are many irresponsible Filipino men in the Philippines. And often a lot of Filipino men from the Philippines, at first they are so good when it comes to the relationship. But I'm not saying all Filipino men, okay? And the moment that they have kids with Filipina, eventually they change. It almost feels like the moment they have kids, they suddenly change. They become irresponsible. And that's when gambling, drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, or cheating occurs. It's basically something like a lot of Filipino men in the Philippines carries a lot of trauma or develop trauma in their childhood. And that's why over time, it affects them in their relationship life, in their marriage life. And hence why when you go to the Philippines, you will more likely see a lot of Filipino men drinking on the road and smoking everywhere. And at the same time, cheating behind their back. And I'm not saying that Filipinas are also angels, because there are Filipinas out there who cheats behind their partner's back too. But then again, reminder guys, I'm not talking or applying this to all Filipino men. It just happens that a lot of them are just very irresponsible. And that is why a lot of Filipina gets really frustrated to their husband or their Filipino partner. And because the man is irresponsible and don't know how to feed his family, that's when the Filipina or his wife takes over in the family. And most of the time, she will decide to go abroad or overseas or Middle East to become an OFW. So basically, she's willing to sacrifice herself for the sake of feeding her children or giving her children good education. When the wife goes to Middle East to become an OFW, she would end up sending her money to her husband. And because the husband has a lot of vices, often it would only make his vices worse because of the money that he gets from his Filipina wife. And on top of that, he decides to cheat behind his wife's back because of course he has a feeling that it needs to come out, and that is why he cheats to let the feeling out to the other woman. And often when his wife comes back from Middle East to visit or surprise her family, sometimes or most of the time she ends up finding out that there's actually a woman or another woman inside the house, or the husband is fooling around. And that's when a Filipina gets super angry and eventually decide, you know what? F you, I don't need you in my life. I can feed my children without you. I would rather just be a single mom and just focus on my children rather than being with you and be miserable with you. So that's why there are many single moms in the Philippines. And also that Filipino man was angry or mad that I'm helping a lot of Filipinas to find a foreigner because as I mentioned there that I'm actually a matchmaker. He didn't like the fact that Filipina would never date you if you have no job or if you don't know how to make money, because he thinks that we're only after money. No, a lot of Filipina developed a lot of trauma from their ex-husband. I mean, how could you feed your children or being able to survive when you don't have money to buy food? So yes, we Filipinas prefer if a man has a job or if he is a hardworking person. Because as part of our trauma of being a Filipina, we have this attitude of being a man or being an alpha in a relationship. Because if our partner is not capable of being a man and is not capable of feeding his family, then who is supposed to feed the family or the children? The neighbor? No, the Filipina will take over. And that's the reason why there's so many single moms in the Philippines, because they are traumatized or they don't want to marry another Filipino man in their life anymore. And that is why they prefer foreigners, because at least the foreigners will see them as valuable, or at least the foreigners will show respect and appreciation to what they're doing for them. So that was the explanation of the entire story.